Hey, this is Kevin's Corner. So, here's the scenario. You've got your car painted. It's looking good, but you want to take advantage of that one final opportunity to really super enhance that finish from the top down, the process of color sanding and buffing. So, you sand every panel dead flat. You go from 1,000 grit to 1,500 grit to 2,000 grit. You wash it all down. You're getting ready to whip out your compound and your buffer, and you realize the worst possible thing has just happened. You have sanded through a peaked edge. You sanded right through your new paint job and right down in to either the primer or the substrate or the gel coat, and it breaks your heart. Now you can see that it's not that difficult to have something like this happen. We've got a raised edge here and a very sharp point, and unless you were very careful or protected your edge, when this hood was wet, chances are you didn't even know that happened until after it's dry. I've often said the difference between a painter and a paint gun owner is the ability to solve the problems that come up along the way. The best of the best have issues and problems, and here's how to fix this one. Now, back in the lacquer days, what you could probably do would be to just take your black base coat and blend a couple coats out, and then take your clear, 1 coat, 2 coats, maybe 3 coats, and then cut your last coat with a little bit of thinner, a little bit of reducer, and then polish that edge down and polish the whole thing. The reason you could get away with that with lacquer is because the lacquer paint that you were painting on top of did not have a catalyst. So the lacquer paint that you're using and layering on top of that reflows it. The solvents in it bite into it and it blends and becomes one. Those days are gone. Forget about doing that. It does not work. Any catalyzed paint, what you're going to create is a layer that sits on top and is weak. And I know you've seen those repairs from a cheesy little body shop that broke it off on the sail panel or tried to patch into a fender and you get this hazy edge. Don't do that. What you have to do is repair the base color, which has no strength, it's just the color, and then go to either the next simple panel break or clear the whole panel. That's what you got to do. That's just how it is. Get used to it and you'll have a better result for it. There's a couple of different ways that we're going to go about protecting our surface and isolating our repair. The first one is to use masking tape. Just make a little dam right here. I may even use another layer so I can pull it back. That way there's no chance of me building up paint too much around that edge. The other way I'm going to protect the rest of my hood, because the paint's perfect there, is by creating a dam and isolating the rest of the panel. And if you notice, I'm utilizing this style line here. It's the raised bulge in this hood. Now, were this a sharp style line, we'd be talking about a whole other technique, because you can literally break that off sometimes and utilize that panel break as a way to repair. But not on this hood. So what we're doing now, using our tape, sticky to sticky, coming around, and with this and another couple of techniques, my overspray is not going to blow that way. I'm going to blow my paint this way. This is going to protect the rest of the hood. Now, the reason I'm rolling this edge back should be pretty obvious. This soft tape edge, the rolled back edge, is rounded, and in case you get a little heavy with your base coat, you're not going to have a hard edge buildup. It's going to be a soft rolled edge. Now, here's actually a better example of this technique. I call it back taping. But you can see what happens. You can create this little cove right here. And as opposed to a hard line, when your overspray hits that, it's gonna roll underneath. It's not gonna be able to make a hard peaked edge on this inside edge underneath that tape, so that when you pull it off, you've essentially got a nice blend, and it's a much easier transition to deal with. Now, before I spray any paint, I want to make sure that you guys understand this is a water-based craft paint, so I can talk you through the process while I'm doing the repair. When you're using solvent-based or even waterborne automotive paints, don't neglect your safety gear. So the first thing we're going to talk about is spray gun setup. We've got a tiny repair here, so we don't want a bunch of air pressure blowing it out. So we're going to dial the air pressure back, which is nice on this gun because it's got that air valve on the bottom. The second thing we want is the smallest pattern available. Well, not enough air to atomize. Okay, so we've got your typical elliptical football-shaped pattern there. That's not what we want. Like I said, we want to isolate this. So we're going to take our fan control and dial it down to as close to a pinpoint as we can get. Here, we got a very small pattern. It's still a little heavy for me, so I'm taking my fluid control and choking this sucker off. Okay, that's no fluid delivery. You see what I'm doing? Which also brings up another thing. You can get real creative here if you're doing custom stuff by dialing this pattern down to a fine pencil point. Now, with the blend, you also want to be very aware that you're not overcoating. So this setup is just about exactly what I want. Keep in mind also, I'm not practicing my gun setup on the panel I'm trying to repair. Do it on a piece of scrap paper. Okay, now that we're ready to start spraying some paint, keep this in mind too. Your first tendency is going to be to attack that line like this, because you can see it and you're aiming at it. But keep in mind the rest of the panel here. So spray away from the rest of your panel. This is a fairly common body shop technique for blending. Got to find your happy place, your comfort zone. There we go. I'm keeping my movement small, just like my spray pattern. All I'm doing is giving it a touch. Now, until that's dry to touch, you're not ready for another coat. So give it some flash time. Now here's another reason that back taping is a good technique. You see the edge I'm exposing is fresh masking tape. So by rolling this back during the course of my repair, I'm eliminating any possibility of a hard edge buildup along here. Again, between coats, I'm rolling my rolled edge back even further. This also illustrates the importance of prepping every bit of the panel. Now once your repair is dry to the touch and you're satisfied with the color saturation, you can start to unmask. Take a closer look at the whole mask. Keep in mind also that right here, the way I sprayed that repair, it's impossible to get overspray up on this side, so you know the rest of your hood's protected. So what we end up with is a very isolated base coat repair that keeps the color exactly where we wanted it, but gives a slight blend out into the existing panel. And what that gives us is a repair that completely disappears once you add your clear coat. Now, of course, you're going to have to be a little more careful with a metallic or a pearl and keep it a little more controlled, but you can still get there from here. The biggest thing that I want to impress is that a clear coat blend has nothing to do with the clear. It's all in the color. You're clearing the entire panel or up to the next available body, panel, break, or style line. So for more information on this, go to Eastwood's online restoration forum. Shop their tools, but great information. Check out Kevin's Corner. Chat me up. Ask me about this type of stuff.